Hi, so I've been working on a study of a couple different, mainly a couple different colors, working with purples and oranges mostly. I've been introducing a couple other colors into this study of some receding hills, and as you can tell, it's not exactly the same, but which is fine. But one of the things that the reason I'm doing this video is to talk about how to do kind of a global adjustment. There's still other things going on down here, but what I'm curious about is making this area, this sky area, a little bit more creamy, similar to this reference photo. And I have a thought on that, and I wanted to show you guys. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a color by Winsor and Newton called Naples Yellow, and it is both sort of a tannish yellow, and it's a fairly opaque color, so it's not as transparent as a lot of the other watercolors, and that's partly because I think it has some titanium white in it, truth be told. So I'm going to wet this, and I'm going to pour in a little bit of watered down Naples Yellow, and my hope is that it'll make everything sort of creamy, as well as sort of undefine or blur out the edges a little bit here. So that's my plan. The first thing one needs to do is wet the area where you want paint to go, because that's still the same if you want it to blend. And one of the ways I do that is by using these this is a bamboo hake brush, which is really inexpensive and holds a lot of water and has really soft hairs. It's pretty, because it's inexpensive. These hairs will come out fairly easily, but I find it's definitely worth the hassle. And I have found that this was a technique I learned by an artist. I think her name is pronounced Bridget O'Connor. Gorgeous stuff. And so one way of wetting down a large area is by using a brush like this, and I'm just dipping it in water. So if I'm trying to be sort of specific, like say for example I wanted to change everything in this painting from this edge up, I would do that sort of in a way where I'm just using a brush like this. I use it close to the edge. I'm using still a really light touch, but I can wet down a pretty large swath, large area really quickly. And because it's so soft, you have more of a sporting chance of not disturbing all the dried layers of paint, which is one of the trickiest things in this whole technique. So I might do that. This particular project I'm doing, though, I'm actually going to, this is a spray bottle, which you might be able to see partly spraying on, but I'm just going to kind of wet this whole painting. I'm going to come over here. I am going to, I think, actually, and this is actually one way of sort of adjusting colors and softening edges. Just doing that and then moving it around a little bit and letting it dry. But that's not my main goal for this video. My main goal is to talk about globally changing something in a blended fashion, graded out fashion. So I'm trying to get this yellowy color sort of around the horizon and a little bit up into the sky and a little bit down into the hills as well. It was probably would have been smart to just to mix that first, but that's okay. So now I've got my pile of color. I'm looking at the paper sideways, glancing at it and getting a sense of the light reflecting in it, of how shiny it is. The more wet it is, the more this paint is just going to sort of run everywhere. And if you want to sort of control it, then it helps to let the well, it helps to accept that you're not going to be able to to control it. But if you want to influence it, it helps to let the paper dry a little bit. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna hold it at an angle. I'm gonna go about here where my where the sky is, where I think I want it to start, and I'm just gonna pour in some color like that. That was crazy. And it's pretty watery, so it's kind of staying on top and floating around on the top, which is fine. This is, this is a little bit scary at first, to do this on some project that you've spent a bunch of time on and a bunch of heartache, and you think to yourself, oh my god, if I do that, it's watercolor, so I'm never going to be able to change it or fix it. Which hopefully you're learning is not necessarily true. There are limits, sure. I liked how it was, when it was going up here, how it was, yeah. I was trying to mellow that part out a little bit too. Make it, the whole thing creamier and a little peachier. I could bring in more, but I'm not going to, because I'm juggling enough things as it is, including wondering where a paper towel is. But that's, I think, going to dry in a way that will be visually pleasing to the artist. And I may come back and try to get a little bit more creamy color down here. Or this may dry and it may not be creamy enough, and I can do the same thing again until I feel like I get it to where I want. I can already tell it's kind of drying lighter, and it'll be good to go back and look at it before. But I'm going to let that dry. I'm not sure how much of that was in camera, but I hope you got the idea. I'll let it dry and then I'll check it out. But that's sort of globally changing something by wetting down a large area and pouring some color in, storing some paint in. Okay.